Hello, are you here to debate?
Yes, I am.
All right, what's your name, age, and pronouns?
My name is a little difficult. It's Guillermo, but you can say G. Age is 33, and I'm him.
Okay, Guillermo, what are you here to debate about?
Well, right now, I wanted to add on to the previous discussion you had about contraceptives not being available. I'll entertain that for a little bit, but I want to talk about now. You're speaking a lot about the past.
Well, that's
right
because
now,
we were
I don't
specifically
believe
talking about
that.
Margaret Sanger, so that's why we were talking about the past.
Okay, but so I guess I wasn't here for that. But systemic racism, I don't believe is a thing anymore.
Okay, when did it end?
Fine. Can you tell me how the black population is oppressed at the moment?
Well, hold on. If you're claiming that it doesn't exist, what year did it end? Like, when did we get rid of systemic racism once and for all?
Thank you, Boo.
Okay, I'm asking you a question that is very similar to that because I don't have a definite answer for that. Oh, it ended in 2008. No, that's not
Weird.
quantifiable. What I'm
Why
saying
wouldn't
is
it? Why
right
wouldn't
now,
we have an end date?
how is the black population of America oppressed? How's that race oppressed?
Well,
currently?
just real quick, I just think it's interesting that we're claiming systemic racism is over, but we don't have a time period of when it would have ended. Like,
okay, I'm asking you how it exists.
Sure.
If you're arguing when did it end, I'm asking you how does it exist?
You argued it wasn't a thing anymore, so I was asking you for clarification.
I'm asking how does it exist?
Yeah,
how
sure,
are black people oppressed? Can you answer that question?
Sure. Black people face disproportionate outcomes in almost every system that exists. We can see this in the educational system. We can see this in the healthcare system. We can see this in the criminal justice system. A couple examples of this would be that black people, when committing crimes, even if the crimes are first-time offenses, when we compare them to their white counterparts, they receive longer and more harsher jail times. We can view this by looking at the U.S. Sentencing Commission's website. They have an entire database, and you can like sort by race. You can sort by first-time offense. When you add in all of the variables, black people get longer and harsher jail sentences than their white counterparts. If all the variables are the same, so the socioeconomic settings are the same, as well as the type of offense is the same, why are black people getting harsher and longer sentences?
Fine. Does that affect you? Are you a criminal? Are you being oppressed currently?
I'm sorry. Does that have anything to do with the point?
Thank you, Boo.
Yes, because you're saying blacks in general. So are you black?
Yeah. When we look at.
Okay. So, but that is a criminal issue.
If I don't, I'm sorry. If I don't go through something, does that mean that thing doesn't happen? But sure, if you want to talk about a criminal issue, we can also talk about the black people.
No, but I'm saying this affects more races than just black.
It affects more races.
Specific group of people.
Thank you, Boo.
Yes, I
We're
get it.
talking
The
systemic
criminal justice system
racism,
needs to
correct?
be worked on.
Are we talking systemic racism?
But in order to enter that systemic racism, you have to be a criminal.
No.
I'm asking in general.
Incorrect.
For the normal, uncriminal.
Incorrect,
How are they
actually.
oppressed?
Incorrect, actually, because black men are, 40 to 60 times more likely to be exonerated for crimes they did not commit because they're falsely arrested and imprisoned for crimes they did not do.
Okay.
So it doesn't just affect criminals, actually.
That
nice try on that
the criminal system.
The criminal justice system is a system that affects black people, correct?
Outside of the criminal system. Currently, what opportunities
so what you're saying is how does systemic racism exist if you ignore this big part of systemic racism? Okay, I guess we'll talk about other factors. Since you want to ignore one of the largest ones, we'll go to a different one.
Fine.
Black women.
I'll give you the largest factor. You want to talk about largest?
Okay.
The largest factor is the lack of fathers. That is the largest factor, and that is causing a
You believe in the myth of
cultural.
You believe in the myth of you believe in the myth of black fatherlessness. Yeah. Yeah,
I believe that any family needs to have a father, regardless of race. That is what causes
the claim that black fathers are missing from the homes is a myth. It's a myth. It's not real.
How is that a myth? Most black families
are you want me to go over
mother.
With it? Yeah, sure. When we look at to see if we have a single mother, what do they use? What do they use to determine whether that mother is single?
That she has a child without a father?
Yeah, what do we use to determine that if she has a child without a father? I'll just answer the question
I
since you don't
literally
know.
just defined
It's the
it.
U.S. It's
A
the U.S.
mother raising a
Census.
child without the father.
It's the U.S. Census. That's how we determine those things. We look. The U.S. Census takes and collects that data.
That's
How
how
does
you
the U.S.
calculate those,
How does
not
the U.S.
determine them.
Census? How does the U.S. Census decide if you're single? They just look at whether you're married or not. They don't look at cohabitation. They don't look at if you are with like a long-term partner. They just look if you're married.
Regardless
you are determined.
of the
I'm not done.
census,
I wasn't done.
is that there
I'm sorry,
are
I'm
no
not
fathers
done.
in
I'm
black
not done.
families.
I'm not done. I wasn't finished. So they only look at if you're married. So you can be determined to be a single mother, even if you're cohabitating with the other parent, if you're not married. Second of all, when we've done studies, I wasn't done. I wasn't done. I wasn't done. Okay. Second of all, when we've the CDC has literally done studies and shown that black fathers are the most likely to be involved in their children's lives. They're the most likely to see their children every day. They're the most likely to eat meals with their children, whether they're cohabitating or not. They're most likely to take their children to school and help with school projects. Black fathers are over white fathers, over all other metrics of fathers. This is a study done by the CDC. So yeah,
Okay,
it's
are
a
you done?
myth. It's a myth. You're just sure you want to give some evidence for your side.
I
now?
think that study is a myth because I've seen it with my own eyes.
I don't care about what you've seen with your own
coach
eyes.
football. A majority
care
of the
less.
kids do not have a father,
I
and they
don't.
are
I don't
mainly
give
black.
two shits what you've seen with your own eyes.
Thank you, Boo.
So you're discrediting that because you
Yes,
saw
anecdotal
study?
evidence means
Ask your audience.
anecdotal
then.
evidence
Ask your
means
audience.
jack shit to me.
Ask your
Anecdotal
audience.
evidence means nothing. It's an anecdote. I don't
Then
care what
ask
you have
your
seen.
audience.
Let me. Have you ever seen Walt? Like, have you ever been to Walt Disney World? Have you ever seen it with your own eyes?
No.
Does it exist?
You're claiming something
Does it
completely
exist?
different. I know Disney World exists.
Thank you, Boo.
Why?
You're claiming that single
Why do you know
motherhood in
Disney
black
World
homes
exists?
does not exist. I
No, I didn't
you know
say
what
it
else
doesn't
I do?
exist.
I work
I said
for
it's
a lot of
hold
apartments
on.
that are
I'm
also
sure you do.
not the
I'm
best,
sure you do.
and I see a lot of single
I'm
mothers
sure you
there,
do.
and most of them are black.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
You are in denial.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I haven't claimed it doesn't exist. I said there's a myth that goes around about motherlessness in the black
I'm saying
homes.
if there were
and that
more
I wasn't. I'm
black,
sorry. I'm
let's
talking.
start. Fine, I'll agree.
talking
I'll
now.
agree with your point that black fathers are the best fathers. Yes,
Oh,
I'm
there you
saying
go.
we need more of them. There are not
okay.
enough of
Except
them.
Except they are there, because they're the most likely to be involved in their child's life.
Great. Now I'll go tell my football team everybody's stupid because they have a father. They just
No,
are
it's
claiming
just
that they
your
don't.
limited experience does not dictate what does or does not
Okay,
happen
then
in the world.
broaden the
But let's
spectrum.
hold on.
Ask
But
your audience.
let's analyze this a little bit. Let's say the black fathers are gone. Where are they? Where are they?
Fathering many other children with many other women.
Fathering many other children. And what's your evidence for this?
Yes. Life.
Life is your evidence.
I'm sorry that I don't have statistics like you, but I've seen it with my own eyes.
Oh,
Now, I'm not claiming
Interesting.
that black fathers are bad. I'm saying that there is a cultural thing where women, while being pregnant, already plan for single motherhood.
they don't. But here's
Well, then it's
a fun fact. Could it be that we have a large population of black men
Fine.
sitting in our prison system
bring out
right
a study.
now?
I'll Google it.
Could we possibly have a large population of black men sitting in our prison system right now? Could there possibly be an overabundant number of black men who are in prison, even for crimes they don't commit?
Okay, let's say 15% of those people are innocent. The other 85 are not.
What are they guilty of?
Claim is
What
still
crimes?
stands. My claim still stands.
What
It says nearly
crime is the most?
17%
Here,
of all
I'll
American
ask you.
households
I'll ask you a really easy
are
question.
raised
What
by
crime
single
in prisons, both federal and state? What crimes are the most amount of prisoners in prison for? Do you know?
Okay, it seems like you're very well written on crimes. I'm not. That is not what your bulletins say. It doesn't say crime, black crime. It says
the criminal
systemic
justice system is
racism.
part of systemic racism.
Okay,
So I'm sorry
but
that you
only
want to
applies people
ignore.
that are already in the criminal system.
I'm sorry you want to
talking about
ignore
the
a
people that
large
aren't
portion
in the
of
criminal
this.
system.
I'll just answer the question since you don't know. It's drugs. Drug crimes. Drug crimes make up the bulk of people sitting in our prison system. Drug crimes.
Okay.
So all the black men who are sitting in prison for like low-level marijuana offenses, you just think they're bad. You think they like what? How? Like
I
what?
feel
They
like
should
they need to be held
they should
accountable. All right, fine. I'll keep using my own anecdotes. I was a drug addict from 19 to 23, 10 years ago.
Wonderful. Great.
And I'm an Hispanic. I have grown up around the black community.
Wonderful.
It's possible to get out of it. What you're trying to do is not hold accountability. Okay, to get marijuana, whatever, that's fine.
Which real quick, which government agency under which president specifically funneled drugs into black neighborhoods to try to create addicts, to try to create drug? How long ago was that? Like 30 years ago.
Today, I'm talking about today.
Do you think something that happened do you think that something that happened 30 years ago or so won't still have ripple effects today?
Correct. All right, fine. You said something earlier that you didn't believe in the prison
30 to 60 years ago. We've been doing the war on drugs for
Okay. So how about you focus on before they get into prison?
Oh, cool. Let's focus on before they get into prison.
You said a majority of the crime committed is due to drugs. It's funny how you hate being interrupted, but you interrupt so much.
Wait, let's do this. Let's focus on before they get into prisons. Do you know what the school to prison pipeline is?
No.
Okay. So you don't know how we like systemically funnel children from schools in impoverished neighborhoods into prisons because the schools in the impoverished neighborhoods
have some sort of great, brilliant answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, because the school in those impoverished neighborhoods are underfunded. So they're underfunded schools. So they have like 30 to 40 kids per classroom, one teacher. There's no before or after school care. So those kids are more likely to get involved in, especially because they're in like impoverished neighborhoods. So those kids are more likely to get involved in the things that are going to get them into prison.
Can you see how many of those kids in those schools come from fatherless homes? Please.
Where are the fathers?
You're great at research.
Where are the fathers again?
If they're in prison, it means because they committed a crime. If there's some in there that are innocent, let's say that's 15. I'll concede 15% of them are innocent.
Because the U.S. government specifically funneled drugs into their neighborhoods.
The issue is that they're fatherless because that's not a priority.
In prisons, because the U.S. government specifically funneled drugs into their neighborhoods.
And that is a cultural issue, not a systemic racism issue.
It's cultural. The U.S. government funneling drugs into neighborhoods and purposely getting black people arrested so they could use prison labor.
Does that happen right now?
Cultural thing. Yes.
No.
Yeah, that still happens.
There are ways to reach rehabilitation. I can tell you from personal experience.
Great. So just confirming, the U.S. government doing this, that wasn't systemic racism?
Back then, yes.
Oh, back then. And do we still feel the effects of that today?
And again, my initial question still stands that you have not answered. How is it today that the normal non-criminal black faces systemic racism?
How are schools funded?
Through the government, through the states.
What specific tax funds the bulk of public schools?
I'm trying to get to your point. I don't know how to answer that question.
Property tax. Public schools are funded primarily through property taxes. Which group of people have historically been barred from owning high value property in the United States? To the point where now they live barred. To the point where not barred?
It's about merit.
They weren't barred.
Get a good paying job, you can get a good house.
I'm sorry, they weren't barred. We didn't have things like racial covenants that literally said black people couldn't own homes. These were written into the deeds.
But what is it like today? Equal housing.
I'm sorry,
equal housing is alive today. You're still talking about in the past.
Yeah. We didn't have redlining.
If you're thinking that you're going to get some acres in a donkey or whatever you said earlier, that's not realistic.
We still
today.
Banks are still.
There is no systemic racism.
Just real quick.
That there is systemic racism.
Yeah. Just real quick.
You're keeping
Banks
it alive.
are still sued. Banks are still sued for redlining today. They still get caught doing redlining principles.
Okay, and that's wrong.
So, man, it looks like there's still systemic racism.
Face penalties for doing it. That means that it's
that they did it.
Eliminated.
That means that they were doing it. Oh. All of the people that were still barred from that property were still barred from that property. Yeah, hold on. If I have a plate full of shit, right, and I scrape off like 25% of that shit, would you still eat that plate? I go, well, there's progress. There's not as much shit on the plate before. Is there still shit on the plate? Yes, there's still shit on the plate.
Why would you ever have a plate of shit?
Is this a joke?
That makes no sense.
Is this a joke? Can you just admit you don't know?
I hope that's
Can you just admit you don't know shit about systemic racism? You have no fucking understanding of how this shit works.
I'm offering you the opportunity to convince me.
I've been giving you multiple things and you just keep ignoring them.
Okay, now my point stands. You said the schools are funded by all this. Okay, now what percentage of kids in those schools, in those areas with low property, with all the issues, come from fatherless homes? My issue is that it's
so them getting a father is instantly
racism.
going to make it so that their parents can like buy high value property, even though black people we know have been systemically forced into low poverty areas using redlining, racial covenants.
For those that were forced, there are some that are where they're willingly. There are some that are there that not only rely on the government but plan on living on the government for as long as they can. You think people live in intercities? You think people live in low-funded intercities because they want to? There are some people, yes, that they see it as benefits. They prefer not to get a better paying job because then they lose their benefits from the government. That's an issue.
So they want to live in poverty.
There are some, yes. Sir, you are in denial very badly about the state of the actual people that are in poverty. You're sitting behind a computer desk so comfortably talking about things that you have no idea.
I'm in denial because I think that people don't want to live in poverty.
So that means I'm a little worked up. So honestly, you are not enlightening me in anything. You're giving me
when you close your ears
that I'm asking.
When you close your ears and refuse to think critically, when you refuse to think critically, that's what happens. When you go, I'm going to shut off the critical thinking part of my brain, that's what happens. Yeah.
I'm telling you that you're relying on statistics.
Wow. I wonder how else I would determine what's affecting most Americans. Would it be stats and figures? Who knows?
Can I finish?
Who knows?
You're relying on statistics and you're going based on that, yet you're ignoring the statistics that I'm asking you for.
You're not giving me statistics.
You're cherry picking statistics.
You're not giving me any
finish.
Statistics.
You're so rude. I don't know why you have a debate channel if you don't let people finish their points.
You're not giving any statistics. Imagine being racist and crashing out because you can't prove your racism. It's just embarrassing, dude. What's the funniest part to me? The funniest part is when I'm giving all the evidence of systemic racism in the criminal justice system. He's like, well, I don't want any of that. I don't want that proof of racism. You need to prove me racism exists everywhere else. Like, just concede that systemic racism exists. Oh, yeah, the welfare queen trope. Yeah. Yeah, they buy into the, like, stupidest shit, dude. There's only two things that can be true. Either the country is systemically racist, or there's something in black people that causes them to want to live like this. If there's something culturally that makes black people do this more than other races. And the only way you can prove this second one is through some fucking race realism nonsense, which just isn't true. So hilarious, you know?